So my soapbox for many years has been get as close to nature as possible. Yes, you can go drink a glass of orange juice, but what if you eat an organic orange, right? You have all the components and the phytonutrients in an orange versus a glass of orange juice that has been squeezed, and maybe that doesn't come from an organic orange, but now you're eating a slurry full of chemicals, because now all these years later, we are now eating so many things that are so chemically laden, we can't even pronounce them, and they're getting pretty sneaky. They change the names, right, on different ingredients so that we don't recognize it anymore as maybe something that could be dangerous.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on another fun-filled episode of, yes, The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny and cold Eastern Indiana. Yeah, there's the Cardio Miracle QR code, folks, as you're watching today, and you're like, hey, Cardio Miracle sounds pretty darn cool. You can go ahead and scan that QR code over my shoulder, check out the amazing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, and also the other awesome sponsors we have here on the Brian Nichols Show, because yes, we are supported by our phenomenal sponsors like Cardio Miracle, which is the best heart health supplement in the world. Also, we are sponsored by Amp America, folks. You know, when you go on to the corporate news channels, you're going to get a bunch of fluff. It's going to be a bunch of nonsense. So stop supporting them with your views and clicks. Support the folks who are giving you the real news, but also we're not layering in a lot of corporate media bias or fluff. So from podcasts to news pieces, articles, and more, ampamerica.com. Also, they are proud sponsors of the Brian Nichols Show. So go ahead, give them some love, ampamerica.com. Now, just this has been the way the show's been going lately. We've been really focusing on the importance of personal health. And not just the stuff you do physically when you go out and you're working out and you're living a healthy life, but specifically, if not more, most importantly, the stuff we're putting into our bodies, both knowingly and unknowingly. And this is where I think a lot of Americans find themselves today. You see the Make America Healthy movement. We're told by these government bureaucracies that, oh, well, all of this stuff that we're saying is okay, it should be safe, right? If they're giving it the green light, it should be safe, but that's actually not the case. And as we dig more and more into the research, into the data, and yes, into the outcomes, that becomes even more and more apparent. So to dig into what's happening to us, why is it that despite getting these thumbs up, green light, seals of approval from our bureaucratic betters over in the federal government, we still see a lot of people's healths not doing so hot? Joining me here on the Brian Nichols Show to discuss all of this and more, Lisa Hill. Welcome to the program. How you doing?
Oh my goodness, we just talked just a minute ago. We thought last week was good. Can you imagine? We are living the dream, Brian. I mean, truly, this week, Bobby Kennedy's going to get confirmed in the name of Jesus. We're going to have amazing movement. We are taking our country back. We're taking our health back. People are becoming informed. We have people with truth and honor behind the messages that are bringing them forward. So it is such an amazing time to be alive, truly.
Well, I don't know, Lisa. I turn on the corporate news and I just hear doom and gloom. People are freaking out, saying the world's ending. What's the difference there in the narrative that we hear on the talk box versus what's actually happening in real life?
Isn't that crazy? Well, what they want us to. I mean, blood sells, right? So years ago, when I started getting into media and so on, they said, well, the bloodier you can make it, the better people are going to watch and they're going to love it. Well, not that they love it so much. They just stay tuned in because people are always waiting for the next shoe to drop. But you touched on something just a little bit ago, which I thought really bears talking about again, because now we're in this big, Make America Healthy Again movement. And I'm part of the MAHA movement, MAHA store, all that. Now I've known Bobby Kennedy for over 20 years. So we've been on this side of the fence, those of us, for all these years. And we've been beating the drums, telling people about it. We were the wacky taffy, the voodoo goo 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 people, crunch bombs, all that stuff. And now all of a sudden it's vogue, right? But isn't it sad that we have to say, make America healthy again? Mm-hmm. It should have been healthy all along. So we could do a whole show on why we're not healthy today, from big pharma to the sources that we've been given. But my aha moment came. I've always been interested in health. I was raised, the oldest of six out of Detroit, Michigan. My father was a police captain, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so we grew up in the way that, you have apple trees and you have homegrown food. And that's kind of the way we operated and our family was raised. Well, throughout the years, we knew that it became more and more vogue for us to eat things like, cold cereal and Pop-Tarts, and things had a longer and longer list of ingredients, right? And then you started to notice that people's health started to not go forward. It went backward. And we used to think, hey, the people that had the more money could buy all the prepackaged foods. And now they're being led down a path to destruction. But my aha moment, when I went into nursing, and I remember we'd get back that was over 40 years ago now. But we get back the lab results on patients and would say, hey, they're deficient, and, they need some B vitamin, and maybe they need some folate or whatever. And so we walk around and we give them their pills. And then we go back and empty the bedpan, and we call them bedpan bullets because they go right through their system. Their body would not absorb it. So I started being the inquisitive person that I've always been is, okay, wait a minute. How come those bedpan bullets are in the bedpan? That's not helping them at all. Why is not their nutrient level going up? And the patient's health started and continued to decline. And so I started to get as involved as I could be at the time and trying to get all the information. When we actually had to go to libraries, right? That's when we think about where we are today. We had this right here. Back in the day, you had to go to libraries, you had to go to the PDR, you had to do your own research. And I started researching on where our health was going and how come from day one, starting the medical community, from the time that I departed 22 years later, we started off with one or two medications. The doctors would all talk about the importance of walking, importance of, maybe drinking a little bit more water, what have you. By the time I departed, there was no conversations about health whatsoever. Nobody told you how to stay healthy. They just told you, take this pill, and that the side effects of that pill, then we're going to give you another pill to, counteract the side effects of this pill. So when I left and departed studying for my doctorate in naturopath, I discovered that we had fallen into the same trap that many times we fall into in other categories. Something looks pretty, it's shiny, a company spend millions of dollars on marketing, and when you really look down at what it is and you start picking it apart, because I've been in product formulation for years as well, you say, okay, so that's synthetic. My soapbox for many years has been get as close to nature as possible. Yes, you can go drink a glass of orange juice, but what if you eat an organic orange, right? You have all the components and the phytonutrients in an orange versus a glass of orange juice that has been squeezed, and maybe that doesn't come from an organic orange, but now you're eating a slurry full of chemicals, because now all these years later, we are now eating so many things that are so chemically laden, we can't even pronounce them, and they're getting pretty sneaky. They change the names, right, on different ingredients so that we don't recognize it anymore as maybe something that could be dangerous. In the world of deception, you can have a beautiful product with a beautiful packaging, and it can be, hey, that's as synthetic as heck. So let's go back and look at the cellular terrain of our bodies. I marvel as I got deeper into, the alternative health world. I discovered and literally not a day goes by that I don't thank our Father for the way that He's created our bodies. We are always geared to create homeostasis. Our body's always going to be looking for balance, no matter what we do to it. As crazy as we are, we do, all this stuff to our bodies. Our bodies are always like, we have to keep this gal and guy alive. We're going to find these different ways to be able to do that. Well, a cell is designed to receive nutrients and also take out toxins. When you've been exposed to a lot of chemicals and toxins and, things that are not natural and normal to the body, what happens is the cell sometimes will build up a coating and like a hard shell, almost like an eggshell. So nutrients cannot go in, and waste cannot come out. And that's what synthetic vitamins and minerals do. So also the cell has receptors on the cell that are going to say, like if you walk up to your neighbor's house, you knock on the door and they go, I don't know who this crazy lady is. Well, that same thing happens to your cell. If your cell can't recognize it and utilize it, it's not going to use it, just going to bump it off. And, we have to be able to get through that cell too for nutrients. The more synthetic something is, the more your body doesn't recognize it. So then your body goes, I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to store it in fat, store it in the kidneys, store it in your gallbladder. That's why a lot of times people might say, I just started taking a lot of pills or vitamins, and all of a sudden I have kidney stones, or all of a sudden, I have trouble with my gallbladder, or, I'm having these different challenges. Well, it's because we're putting rocks and we're putting nutrients into our body that our body can't even recognize, so the body stores it. And so I think that's really interesting as we start looking down and saying, okay, years ago it was the cooler, the cool kids got all the store-bought, things in pretty packages. And now here we are, we're going back to nature. And that's what's so exciting about, Bobby's appointment, what he's been working on for all these years, those of us that have been banging the drums. It's so thrilling because people, you look at the transformation, right? Before COVID, people were still really busy. During COVID, the world stopped. And now people had a chance to become even more curious than ever and say, okay, I guess even before COVID, maybe I wasn't feeling very good. And now I don't want to come out of this COVID feeling worse. So what can I do to help my body and help my body remain healthy? We watched many friends and relatives pass away from it. And so they have an urgency now about them that I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to do everything I can. So people are smarter today than they ever were before.
Hey folks, I want to take a moment to talk about something that has truly changed my life, and that is Cardio Miracle, our incredible studio sponsor. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard about Cardio Miracle and their claims about improving heart health, I was skeptical. But after using it for just about 2 months, I was absolutely blown away by the results. First, my blood pressure went from being consistently around 140/90 to a much more healthier and manageable 120/80. And my resting heart rate dropped from the low 70s to the high 50s. And I couldn't believe it. But the benefits didn't stop there. I started sleeping better, and I felt more energized at the gym, and my heart felt the best it's felt in years. And it's not just me. Hundreds of you, our amazing listeners, have reached out to share your own incredible experiences with Cardio Miracle. So, what is Cardio Miracle, and how does it work? It's a carefully crafted supplement that harnesses the power of nitric oxide to support optimal heart function. So by increasing nitric oxide levels in your blood, Cardio Miracle helps relax your blood vessels, improve circulation, and it protects your heart from damage. It's like giving your heart the support it needs to function at its best. And here's the best part. We've got an exclusive offer just for you, our loyal listeners here at The Brian Nichols Show. When you head over to cardiomiracle.com and use code TBNS at checkout, you'll get an extra 15% discount on your order. Plus, with their 100% money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So, if you're ready to take control of your heart health and experience the life-changing benefits of Cardio Miracle for yourself, just click the link in the show notes or video description. Trust me, your heart will thank you. And don't wait another day to prioritize your health. Join the tens of thousands of folks who have already discovered the Cardio Miracle difference. Head to cardiomiracle.com now and use code TBNS for 15% off your order. Your journey to a happier and healthier heart starts today. And now, let's get back to the show. So this is an objection I'm going to give you, right? Because I'm a sales guy at heart, and this is the world of sales. We have to deal with objections all day long. And this is a reoccurring objection I hear from my friends. I'm just going to say, I wouldn't even say on the left, or they're skeptical to the health world, right? Because, and let's just rewind for a second, Lisa, they have been conditioned from the moment they step foot on this earth to the moment they take their last breath. They have been conditioned day in and day out that, well, the government is going to have your best interests at heart, and therefore we're going to have all these different, 3-letter organizations, the FDA, the EPA, the CDC, you go through the NIH, they're all going to do things with your best interests at heart. And with that, they'll never let an organization, put some type of terrible ingredient into circulation because they know it will end up hurting folks. So they're going to probably take a little bit of a laid back approach in terms of just passing through everything and saying, yeah, we're going to give it our green light, big slap of approval there, like the big old sticker you see at the grocery store, right? So there's that piece. But then you couple that with, they'll say, well, Brian, that plus the fact we're at a point right now where Americans and just people in general are living longer than they've ever lived since they've walked foot on this earth. So we must be doing something right? And then I say to you, Lisa, where are we missing that? What's the answer to those objections that the government would never give us things knowingly that could cause us harm, but also that, hey, even if they we're still living longer than we ever have before. What's the answer to that?
Well, that brings up a very good point. Let's think about that for a minute. Are we healthier today than we were before? We have all these government agencies controlling everything, right?
Right.
We aren't. We're not. So whatever plumb line they're using is not working. The FDA is controlling and attempting to control the naturalization of nutrients. Some of them are tremendously good. Guaranteed there's some bad apples in the bucket, but most of all, it's big pharma has now stepped into the nutrient, the natural, or shall I say, world of vitamins and minerals, and they now own a lot of these companies that you might not even be aware of. So when they step in and they start putting their 2 cents, it all comes down to money. Mm-hmm. What's going to make, for instance, one company that I worked with years ago. We had a vitamin C that's a plant-based. It was a whole food vitamin C. It was very expensive per kilo, but the company decided, hey, you know what? We can make more money if we start reducing the price of our ingredients. And so they went and found a very cheap synthetic vitamin C, which did not work. This is what's happening straight across the board. It's all about money.
That right there, right, Lisa? Like, I used to be the stereotypical Republican back in the day. Like, you'd carry the banner because that's what your team was doing. And I used to look at folks like Bobby Kennedy and I'd be like, seems like he's up to no good over there because he's just trying to take down all these institutions that are helping make public health better. Yeah. And then you start to read past the headlines. And by the way, if there's not like one thing that we should all learn collectively over the past 10 years, specifically with both the elections of Donald Trump, but also the way that the media handled the COVID narrative, it is to read past the headlines, for the love of God, because the headlines will tell you what they want you to think and feel. The stories will then tell you why that's actually not what the headlines are actually saying. So when you dig into the headlines and you start reading behind the headlines and you start saying, okay, where's this piece of information sourced from, right? And then you start to follow the rabbit, the rabbit trail, the whatever the trail. You follow all the trails, and they always lead back to some entity, right? Some entity was tossing dollars here and there. The most notable one right now, I think a lot of folks are starting to wake up to, is you rewind back into the 50s. And was it the corn lobby? I forget which lobby it was that basically paid off the American Heart Association to say, they're like, hey, by the way, can you make it a point to say that, fats and proteins, like healthy proteins, are bad for your heart, and to lead us down this pathway of like synthetic garbage like margarine to say it's better for you? And they did. They bought it hook, line, and sinker. And here we are today. We're so unhealthy, like morbidly obese folks left and right. I used to be one of them. Lisa, I was 385 pounds. Like, what? I was a big boy. And it was because
you look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I tell past Brian that, cause like it was still stuff. Like I look back, Lisa, and like I thought I was doing the right things. I thought I was eating the right stuff. I thought, I was just eating a little too much. It's that we're not eating real food. And I keep on going back to this reoccurring theme with Josh Hewlett on the show, with you on the show, with Lori on the show. Like, food is fuel. And if we're feeding ourselves synthetic garbage, like, of course we are going to turn into synthetic garbage. Like, you are what you eat.
One thing that was when I was working in the medical field, we would have, we'd look at the lab reports. That was supposed to be our roadmap to a person's internal health. And we had one gentleman came in, and this always stayed with me because it was one of my other aha moments. And this gentleman, he was perfectly fine, 42 years old, early retirement, had done very well for himself, was going to buy a beach house, sit and, just enjoy his life, came in for for his last and final overview, and his cholesterol was 201. And the doctor said, hey, you have a history of cardiac issues in your family. We're going to go ahead and put you on Lipitor. And I was already awake enough to know that, I had a cholesterol of 204, and I was really a big butter gal, and I was against all the margarines and everything else that was going on. And he said, you have to cut out fat in your diet. You need to go on this medication. And within 2 weeks, I was working in the emergency room. He came in and he couldn't walk. And the Lipitor had destroyed his Achilles tendons, and he was a runner, completely destroyed his Achilles tendon. 2 weeks after that, he came in and he had a crushing substernal chest pain where he ended up having a heart attack. Several years after that, he ended up having diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. So I am not saying in any way, shape, or form, I'm just giving you scenarios that followed the one thing he did, and that was take Lipitor. So then I started delving into this and trying to educate the doctors that I was working with at the time and saying, Lipitor side effects are, where it kills your Achilles tendons, it weakens your muscles, your heart's a muscle. And oh, by the way, did you know that the lower the cholesterol gets in a man in particular, the higher cases of depression and suicidal ideologies? So
really?
now we look at our average population out here, and I have 3 grown boys and young men, and I'm thinking to myself, my gracious, our men have to be eating more fat. And I think that's why the carnivore diet, I think these other diets out there, I'm just throwing it out there, all these other diets that you're high in good fat, your brain is 80% fat. So think about it. You aren't feeding your brain and you're doing all this, the synthetic vitamins and minerals. You're thinking that you're doing all the right thing. You're running. You might be a little on the thin side, but your brain, we can't operate without a brain. And that's why the nitric oxide story was so fascinating to me when I first understood what John had put together in the Cardio Miracle product as well. But think about those little things, and we walk around and we go, what happened? Well, it was some of those things, like no fat of any kind. So your brain isn't being fed. We have more people today being diagnosed with Alzheimer's than ever before, early dementia. We could go on and on about all the challenges. Now, this is all being done under the watch of the FDA. And you know what I'm saying? So it's if anybody scratches their head and goes, okay, where do I start? What do I do? Number one, become a really good label reader. If what you read on the side of a canister, you're going, well, I got to look that up. That looks a little scientific. Most likely it is. The closer you can get to
So by the way, I don't mean to interrupt, Lisa. I grabbed this can right here just for this exact talk track, right? Because this is Coke Zero. Yeah. Coke Zero sugar. And people hear that and they say, oh, zero sugar. Let's look in the back. 0 calories? It's like I'm drinking water. And then let's read these ingredients, and let's hope I can pronounce some of them. Carbonated water, caramel color. What does that even mean? Phosphoric acid, aspartame, potassium benzenate to protect the taste, natural flavors, whatever that could mean. What else we got here? Potassium citrate, something potassium, caffeine, stevia extract. Like, that's not zero. There's a lot of stuff in here. And Lisa, a lot of this stuff is fake. It's synthetic. It's not, it's garbage.
Well, you bring up a really good point. When I work to get products in other countries, especially the UK or anywhere, in that part of the world, we can't get our product. 90% of our products are rejected because they just have ingredients on the product which is actually food grown and what is actually in the product. We don't have fillers. And the reason, by the way, when you got the Cardio Miracle product, and maybe sometimes you get it might float around a little bit, and you're like, you might cough a little bit when you're using the Cardio Miracle. Well, it's because we don't put all those fillers in it. We don't put all those fillers. So
I'm just gonna, you brought your big old Cardio Miracle tub. I got mine right here. And you're right? Like the ingredients on here, where'd they go? I'm not going to read them all through here, but like, these are all real ingredients. Like it's actual stuff, not garbage. And then, I'm going to shout out to one of my good buddies here, Dan Berman. His company is Blood of Tyrants, and he's got this energy tea. It's called Liquid Freedom. And I don't know if you noticed this, or Lisa, I have a lot of energy, right? That I bring to the show. That's sometimes the it's in the reserves here, the good old Brian Nichols, but also sometimes I'm getting a little extra help, and it's usually from some type of beverage. I used to like energy drinks a lot until I started to read what was in them, and then I look at the ingredients here, and I'm showing this for the video listener watcher. It's kind of hard to see; it's a little blurry, but literally, are you ready for this? It's 7 ingredients: filtered water, yerba mate extract, fruit and vegetable juice, monk juice concentrate, stevia leaf extract. Like,
congratulations.
That's right. And like, this is the type of thing I would drink all day long now versus a Monster or versus a Red Bull, because not only is it giving me the energy I need, it's actually not bad stuff. Like, I'm not gonna say it's good stuff, but it's not bad stuff, which is at least a step in the right direction.
That's right. You know, I took care of many patients in the hospital. They would be out having a good time. They'd be drinking the Red Bull. They'd come in. Their heart rate would be in the 250s, 300.
Oh.
You know, their heart would be racing. And at
300?
Oh, yeah. You know, SVT, we call it. You know, the heart would start pounding and going too fast because they drank too many energy drinks.
You can be alive at 300 beats per minute?
Oh, yeah. We'd have to control that, though, and we'd have to convert that back to normal sinus rhythm. And then we'd look at, say, okay, what are the things that you were doing differently? No, it wasn't coffee, because a cup or two of coffee a day isn't a bad thing if you drink organic coffee. But then you look at the guaranas, you look at all the highly caffeinated. Then you add the chemicals. So what happens is the caffeine opens up your capillary beds, and then it drives all the other chemicals into your capillary beds. So now you're buzzing at 1,000 miles an hour, but your heart can't take it because it's not a properly typed. It's not like the fight and flight where you have to run across the road and save a child from a running bear. So your body's going to respond to this much differently. So hats off to him for doing it the right way. That's awesome.
And by the way, folks, you want to get your own Blood of Tyrants Liquid Freedom, or you want to get some Cardio Miracle, again, over my shoulder here on the video version, you can scan that QR code or head to briannicholsshow.com. All of our phenomenal sponsors are right there. But Lisa, I just want to go back to something again. And this is the idea, not so much of putting the good stuff into our bodies, because that's important. That is the most important thing we can do as an action item from today's episode, right? Like, start paying attention, to your point, become a very good label reader. Start looking for the words that you can't pronounce and saying, if I can't pronounce it, should I be putting it in my body? Probably not. But then let's just take this another step here and go back to the synthetics, because this is something that really it's permeated into not just like the American food sources, but also into the American way of life and the way we think about food. Like, when you go to the grocery store, I went to the grocery store today really quick. I had to grab a few things, and you walk in and you see, like, there's the produce section to the right. And then as soon as you get away from the produce section and you go into the bowels of the store, right? It is nothing but synthetic, processed garbage. Like, everything you go through, whether it's like the boxes of stuff, the cans of stuff, it's all bad. Like, and just the fact that and Lisa, this is where it breaks my heart. We have become so numb to this, and not even just numb, okay with this. And like you mentioned, like your aha moment, my aha moment turned me into a maha head, right? Like my aha turned to maha. And because I saw this firsthand. And like, I would talk to my mom, and she used to be heartbroken. Like, I'm 385 pounds. I'm 17 years old. Like, she's trying to help me eat the right thing. She's giving me diet sodas. She's giving me like the fat-free stuff. And she's like, why is he still gaining weight? Why can't he lose weight? What is wrong? And it wasn't until I just stopped eating garbage, and I just started eating healthy, like real food. And I keep on going back to the real food, right? Then I saw a big change. But I mean, Lisa, that's me realizing there's a problem and trying to do something about it. I know for every example I present of myself, there's 10 other folks who are like, I don't know what to do. Just keep going to the store and buying all this stuff, right? Because it says fat-free. It says it's better for me. So how do we address this synthetic garbage in our food, in our medicines, in our products? Like, is there tangible steps we can take? And how about this? Let me give you 2 different pathways to go here. Is there a pathway we can go without saying to the government, hey, pass this law or put this regulation in place, right? Because there's a lot of folks in my audience who are more libertarian of ethos, and they say no government, right? As much government we can get out of the way, let's get out of the way. So that's option A. Or Option B, is there something that we can do, I guess, from a government standard of, even if it's not saying these things are bad, just saying like, hey, we're not going to give these a seal of approval saying they're safe, right? Like, am I on the right path, or have you seen other things work better? I'll defer to you here.
Hey, I tell everybody, vote with your dollars. If something is not as close to nature as possible, don't buy it. These companies are not going to keep making this stuff if they don't have the audience. And I think some of them are going to start feeling a little bit of a pinch, because now people are waking up and going, oh, you mean those Doritos with the number 5 dye in them and all those other chemicals in there are not really healthy for my 5-year-old child to eat after school? Think about it this way. Think about a buffet from nature, meaning as close you eat fruits, vegetables, meats. If you can get organic meats, that's great. Sometimes we can't. Things that don't come in a cellophane package. Now, that's not always a good thing, not always an easy thing to do for a working mom or a family that are, on a fixed income, what have you. But our portion size as well. So if you're eating throughout the years, we know our portion sizes have increased. They now look like a platter rather than a plate. And now we're just continuing to eat more and more of everything that comes with that platter. So what impressed me also, what I want to just give a shout out to Cardi Miracle. If you are somebody, maybe you can't get to the gardens, you can't get to the fruits. Maybe you can eat a vegetable. Maybe you can eat a piece of meat, eggs, of course, anything that has MSG in it. That doesn't, if it's organic, that's fantastic. But we know in this product, there's over 700 nutrients and over 58 ingredients. So what I like about it is I might not be able to get all the fruits and vegetables every single day, but I'm going to take 2 to 4 scoops of this every day. And I know that I'm fulfilling my body's needs. And then I can look and make a better decision based on what's in front of me. The other thing I think that's really important right now is to let people take a deep breath and say, I'm doing my best. If you do an 80-20 rule, let's say you do 80% your best, 20% you can only do so much. You want to drink coffee and maybe it can't be organic. Great. Maybe you want to go into the organic fruit, fruits and vegetables. Great. But if you can't, go to the organic meats and take Cardi Miracle to supplement. Because that a lot of times if your fruits and vegetables are not organic, getting back to that conversation I said earlier, you are eating fruits and vegetables that are loaded with chemicals that, again, adulterate your cells at the base of the cell. So it's best not even to eat them because you're getting fiber, but you're not getting all the nutrients. So now your body is still starving. And sometimes I knew, Jack LaLanne, everybody talks about the juicing he would do, right? In all those years. And he lived to be, I think it was 101. I got to go back and look and get my facts straight. Fact check it for me. But Jack LaLanne, so he did juicing. But back in the day when he started, the fruits and vegetables were not adulterated with all of the chemicals that they spray on the plants. Another really good tip is if you can't find, fruits and vegetables that are organic, get the ones that have a thick, like a banana has a thick peeling. A watermelon has a thick rind. Anything that has a thick protective rind around it that you have to either peel, in either apples, whatever they might be, but that you can peel them, they're going to be better off for you. But a lot of our kids and a lot of our families, they're growing up in cement jungles. The store in their neighborhood is the dollar store.
Yep.
And then, what do? You do the best you can. That's, again, why I was so excited when I was introduced to the Cardi Miracle, because even if they did 1 scoop, their body's still getting more nutrients that they would on a daily basis. And then just enjoy your food. Most of the time, I tell everybody, the company and guests that you have at your table are more important than the food you're eating anyway. So enjoy that time with them. But it is a little bit of a complex world right now to navigate in. When Bobby gets in and starts mandating to these different companies that they can't use these different chemicals in their foods, just like we saw the red dye, our food is going to get healthier, and then it won't be such a difficult decision for us to make.
Lisa Hill, I could keep this conversation going and going and going, but alas, we are already hard pressed for time. So we're going to go to our final thoughts. I'll kick things off and I'll turn things over to you. 2 things. First and foremost, next month, we're recording here today in January. So by the time this airs, it might be next month. I don't know yet. We're going to figure that out. But February is American Heart Month, American Heart Month, Heart Health Month. Yeah, something like that. So what better time to start paying attention to your heart health? Now I'll tell my story again really quick. And for the audience who's been here for a number of years, they're like, Brian, we get it. You like Cardio Miracle. Well, guess what? You're going to hear why I like it again, because back about 2 years ago, I had John Hewlett in the show. And at that point, I was probably a few months into a realization, coming to terms with the fact that my doctor had told me, well, Brian, you got this family history of high blood pressure, and it looks like we're just going to have to give you medicine. We're just going to have to give you some medicine. And I'm like, I don't want medicine for the rest of my life. And I'm not even kidding. Like, big guy upstairs heard that conversation, and he sent John into my life to have him as a guest in the show. And John's talking about Cardio Miracle and, oh, you take this, it's going to lower your resting heart rate. It's going to lower your blood pressure. And I'm just like, this sounds way too good to be true. Like, I'm a sales guy. So, my BS detector's always up and maybe a little higher than it should be. And I'm like, all right, John. He goes, no, I'm serious. He's like, how about this? You give it a little bit of a shot and you tell me if you see any difference. I was like, okay. Lisa, 2 months. In 2 months, my blood pressure went from 190 200 over 90 to 180 over 120 over 80. Excuse me. I can do this again. 140 over 90 over 120 over 80. There we go. I was like, that number sounded really, really high. And it was actually at one point. It was really high. It did go up to 200 at one point, and that was a very scary day. Not gonna, never do that again. But like, looking at when I started taking Cardio Miracle and I noticed the benefits for myself, I was floored. And at that point, not only did Cardio Miracle become an affiliate sponsor here, the Brian Nichols Show, I bumped them up. They are a studio sponsor of the Brian Nichols Show, because I saw the outcomes myself. And I started evangelizing for Cardio Miracle. Like, I was going around talking to folks, giving it away as like presents and stuff. And, here we are today. I know, like, we looked at the numbers. We're doing some pretty good business with Cardio Miracle, helping people literally change their lives. So I say all that, folks, if you're watching here in the video version of the show, you look over my shoulder right there, scan that QR code. You can go ahead and start your heart health journey in February with Heart Health Month. And you can get 15% off your order by using our QR code, or our discount code for the audio listener. Use code TBNS at checkout at cardiomiracle.com. Again, I have had, I think you're my fifth guest, Lisa, from the Cardio Miracle family. And it all just kind of happened that way, where we're talking about just the outcomes, right, from Cardio Miracle. And I cannot say it enough. If you are dealing with heart health issues, or if you feel like you're sluggish and you just need that extra oomph, Cardio Miracle is 1000% the best thing you can do, starting out square one, just to start changing your life. And what better time to do it than American Heart Health Month? That's my final thoughts, Lisa. What do you have first on your end?
Well, I just want to say I had the same experience when I met John. I was at a trade show speaking at a conference, and I felt it a little funky. And I thought, well, there's something really funny going on. I was pretty in tune to my body. Discovered my blood pressure was 210 over 113. Had no idea. And I usually give high blood pressure. I don't have it. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? So I went over there and I talked to him. I said, does this stuff help with high blood pressure? He said, well, in theory, nitric oxide should do that. He was very careful not to diagnose and treat. And I said, well, how much of this stuff should I be taking? He goes, well, why don't you start off with a pretty hefty, with it being that high, right? So I did 6 scoops. It was the bigger scoops back in the day. 6 scoops for 3 days in a row. The third day, my blood pressure started coming down. The fourth day, and I continued on the 6 scoops a day. The fourth day, it was almost 20 points lower. After the first week, my blood pressure came down to almost normal, and it has been maintaining that since then. So if anybody's listening, we got 2 high blood pressure stories here that we don't treat, cure, diagnose, but how fun is that? Yeah,
it's real. And that's the thing right there. Like, I've seen it, and especially when I was a big guy, right? Like, I was very alert to the snake oil, because you see it all the time, right? Like, you see take this pill, Ozempic, or like, go get this surgery, go get your lap band surgery, go get your gastric bypass. And I like, man, the easy button society that we've really we've become over the past few years. It opens my eyes to how there are so many folks, Lisa, who are just looking for the easy way out. And man, you painted the picture. A lot of that easy way out is then it's filled with folks who are snake oil salesmen who are just looking to make money.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have a product like Cardio Miracle, or you have people like John, or you have people like you, or Lori, or Josh, or you go through the list of folks we've had here in the show over the past few months, like, y'all are doing this not to make a buck. You're doing this because you're changing people's lives. And that is the coolest piece of what we get to do here in the show, because I know that this show, you know, we're reaching tens of thousands of folks per episode now, which still just blows my mind, because 2018, I started this show and I was just sitting there yelling at a microphone by myself in my back closet of my old apartment in Philly. And I was like, yeah, we'll see what happens. And here we're reaching folks, we're making an impact. And the fact that I can have folks like you on the show, Lisa, give you a platform, talk about not just like the things that we're building that are different, but how they're just changing people's lives. Dare I say, they're changing the world. And that's the coolest part. So, Lisa, I can't thank you enough for all the work you're doing. Obviously, all the work that the amazing team at Cardio Miracle is doing. But how about this? We are going to go ahead and have to put a pin in today's conversation. So, Lisa, call to action. Where can folks go ahead, reach out to you, follow up, learn more? And obviously, if you got some stuff that might help make their lives better, what are those things, and where can folks go ahead and find them?
Well, again, I think the Cardio Miracle is, like Dr. Judy Mukovich says, this is your living water. And everybody should be taking this on a daily basis. And I know that you have a QR code behind you.
Yep.
And so that's going to be pretty fun. You know, follow a lot of our doctors that we have on our team. Dr. Avery Jackson. You have Dr. Christiane Northrup. She has her own line of products for women. We have some, amazing people that have really forged forward in bringing really wonderful things to the table. So I just want to commend your listeners and for you to stay tuned, because isn't it fun? And I'm going to close with this. Isn't it fun? We had President Trump's son, who was the one that said, do not watch the regular television networks. Go to the alternatives, go to the podcast to really get the truth. Mm-hmm. So again, thank you so much for telling the truth. We really appreciate it.
Hear. Barron Trump, man, that kid, he's got a future ahead of him, because he's got it figured out. Like he got his dad on all of these different like non-traditional mediums, and it made the difference. When you have the ability like we're doing here, Lisa, there's no, all right, and next on our segment today, but first brought to you by Pfizer. Like, I don't have that. And you know what? If I had the brought to you by Pfizer, sure, it might make it easier to pay the bills. But man, it would crush my soul, because I wouldn't be able to have this kind of a dialogue and talk about stuff that actually is dare I say, again, changing the world. So Lisa, thank you for joining us, folks. If you want to go ahead and reach out to Lisa, of course. No, I thank you all to you. Folks, please go ahead, give Lisa some love. And when you do, tell her you heard her here on the Brian Nichols Show. And with that being said, folks, thank you for joining us. Go ahead, follow yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, on wherever it is you consume your social media. You can go ahead, again, B Nichols Liberty. And for the podcast, wherever it is you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or if you're a video type of person, head to your favorite platforms like YouTube, Rumble, wherever it is you consume your video content. Also, X and Facebook. We upload the entire videos there as well. So go give us some love. And of course, what's our goal here? To leave you educated, enlightened, and informed. I dare say we did a pretty darn good job today. So with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Lisa Hill. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, sir. It's been such an honor.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.